Hello and welcome to Inside Food City Center. Tennessee finishes up its out-of-conference slate with a win over Norfolk State, 67-52. A good Norfolk State team. I don't think that the score exactly frames how it went. Tennessee in control pretty much the whole time, but the Vols now 13-0 heading into conference play. I'm Ryan Sylvia. This is Noah Taylor. We're with VolReport.com on the Rivals Network, and I guess just building off of that, what were your thoughts on this game? Does a 15-point win kind of give you any bad taste heading into SEC play, or is it kind of just whatever?
Well, I think it's kind of whatever, and if you're a fan and you're watching this and you just watch that game and you go back to the MTSU game as well last week, if you have any kind of concerns, I can tell you Rick Barnes doesn't seem to have any. His kind of thing he said is these are two kind of NCAA tournament first round games that they've played and they've won. Like you mentioned, Tennessee stays up by double digits most of this game. It didn't really, especially in that second half of the way they played defensively, it didn't really feel like Norfolk State was going to have a chance to significantly cut into that deficit. So I think if you're Tennessee, you're going in unbeaten into SEC play, and these games are kind of pretty routine. I think Rick Barnes knows what he has in this team and feels pretty good about where they're at right now.
Now, Chaz Lanier, he scores 24 tonight. It's just a tick under 20 points per game right now heading into SEC play. How good has he been playing, I guess? How much of a weapon is that for Tennessee, though? When you're into conference play, you're going to need points in nights where shots aren't falling to have a guy like Chaz, especially tonight, where he didn't have the most efficient night, but he's able to hit a handful of threes and get above that 20-point mark.
Yeah, it's massive. And, what he's been able to do and 14 points right out of the gate tonight. I think that was kind of tells the tale for Tennessee. Again, Norfolk State does a pretty decent job of staying in it and never really getting out of it, never really allowing Tennessee to to land that final blow and pull away by a lot like they did against MTSU last week. But really, with the way Chaz Lanier starts early, that Tennessee kind of rides that the rest of the way. And I think that, again, like you said, wasn't the most efficient night from him. After those 14 points, there was a really big gap between that and his next basket. But again, pretty routine game for Tennessee. It felt like they were kind of on cruise control despite really only being up 10 most of the way. But I think he's going to be a major asset for them. You're going to see much bigger performances from him. And if he can give you 14 points of those kind of games like that right out of the gate in SEC play, that's going to bode well for him.
Now, Cade Phillips, I think, might be the MVP of the night, despite not having the scoring load that Chaz Lanier did. 10 points, 5 blocks, and Rick Barnes in there said that he's the most improved player on this team from last year to this year. He's taking that sophomore leap instead of sophomore slump, I guess. And he's someone, too. You ask players at media day, I asked a bunch of the transfers, like, who's someone that surprised you the most at practice? Who's someone that you didn't maybe know a bunch about? Like, most guys coming in, they know Zakai Ziegler's really good. They know things like that. Yeah. So who's someone that's kind of shocked you immediately as like, oh, this guy's really good? And pretty much all of them said Cade Phillips, and you can see it right now. Just talk about the night he had.
Yeah, big night. I would agree with you. I think so, too. He gets the 7 blocks. I think we're a career high for him. So he was massive really on both ends of the floor. I think that, you were kind of looking for answers, a little bit of question marks left for Tennessee when you lose J.P. Estrella, who even before the season-ending, injury, before that news came out, he was limited anyway because he had been injured in preseason. I think that helped Cade, kind of help him gel a little bit better once they got into the season. And you've seen that pay off. Now you kind of have your answers going into SEC play, which I think is as big as anything today with the way that he's played lately. Obviously, we were kind of wondering what that would look like without Estrella, what would the depth kind of look like, and he's answered that. He's playing really well, and like you said, not really a slump for him. It's a surge. He's playing great, and I think that's going to be really good for Tennessee. Coming off the bench, and Jordan Gainey was a guy who came off the bench too. Has done that all year, but another guy that gets 10 points off the bench too. So I think Tennessee's got to feel pretty good about their depth, all things considered, with some of the attrition that they've had, I guess, in the non-conference slate.
Coach Cal, Jonas Adu in Arkansas coming to town for the next game. What was something you would like to see Tennessee do, I guess, going into SEC play, going into this game against Arkansas? What's an area you'd like to see them improve and kind of find their footing?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I think that especially if you're going to go by some of these last few games. I think for Tennessee, Rick Barnes mentioned it back there. He wants to be big on rebounding. Lost the rebounding battle tonight, actually. So I think that's going to be huge for them. And that's where Cade Phillips comes in, Igor comes in, Felix Akpara as well, who I thought had a pretty solid first half tonight too. I think that's going to be big, obviously, holding onto the ball and not turning it over, which they did well tonight in that regard. I think, was it 6 turnovers for the game. So, playing that way, I think you got to keep doing that and not having some of the slumps that they've had, here in the last couple of games. Did against MTSU tonight. A couple times you look up and you're going 2 or 3 minutes without a basket. I think you got to correct that. But again, if Chaz Lanier is having an early start like he is and doesn't have those gaps without scores, I think that's going to be really good for Tennessee. But ultimately, I think winning the rebounding battle and not turning it over is going to win you most games anyway, but is going to be key in SEC play.
That's someone I think Tennessee could use to get going again is Igor Milicic. He had a really nice start to the year, and he hasn't played bad by any means. He's been rebounding the ball at a really high level.
Yeah.
Over 10 rebounds in 3 of the last 4 games. He finishes with 5 points. The shots just aren't falling, and that's kind of a slump, it feels like, after the first stretch of the season where he was hitting a lot of those shots and he was attacking the rim really effectively. I think he's a guy that Tennessee is going to need to get going at some point in SEC play. We'll see if he can get that started quickly and do it at the start of things, or if it takes a little bit. But I think that's a guy that Tennessee could benefit greatly from if he just kind of starts hitting those shots again. For him too, I think it's kind of the best type of slump to be in, where he's still affecting the game in other ways.
For sure, yeah.
He's not afraid to shoot the ball in a good way. Like if he's open and it's an open 3, he's taking it. If he sees the lane, he's driving. So he's not shying away from things, and it feels like one of those ones where eventually the shots will start falling and he'll get back into it. But him getting going, I think, could also make a big difference in some of those stretches where Chaz Lanier maybe isn't hitting as many shots. You get a guy like Jordan Gainey and Igor Milicic and Zakai Ziegler, and they start getting their points, and that kind of maybe bridges that gap a little bit. That'll do it all from us, though, here today inside Food City Center. Happy New Year's. Make sure you head over to VolReport for all of our coverage on Tennessee football, men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball season coming up soon. Really everything Tennessee athletics. We have you covered in 2025. So links to everything is in the description. Thank you for watching.